Hello there, and welcome to All In with Stephanie. I'm so grateful that you have stumbled upon All In and that you're here. Maybe it's your first time, maybe it's your multiple, whatever, 100th time or whatever you have been with me. But I'm just so delighted that you choose to sit with God and His Word. And that is really my heart for you, that as we learn together, as you hear these messages, that your heart for God will be stirred, that your desire to know Him, to know Jesus would grow, that you would develop your own relationship with Him and your own study and take these little tidbits that I offer to you of what God is teaching me. These are really just lessons straight out of my own quiet time with God. This is nothing earth shattering or just revolutionary, but it's just what God is teaching me, and I feel compelled to share it with you. So thank you for being here, and let's get started today. We are going to talk about a gentleman from the book of Colossians. We were in Colossians 4 last time we were together, and so today we're going to continue in Colossians 4. But we're going to learn about a gentleman named Epaphras. Perhaps you've heard of him before. Perhaps his name is just sounding funny to you, but Epaphras. And my question is, are you an Epaphras? Are you a person who is an Epaphras like Epaphras was to Paul and Epaphras was to a lot of the new churches that were being established back in the time as a church was growing, the gospel message was spreading throughout the world at the time, and we all need an Epaphras, and we all need to be an Epaphras. An Epaphras is, or as we're going to learn, is a person who labors fervently in prayer. Fervently in prayer. Epaphras was a co-laborer in ministry with Paul. So he, I think at times was able to go out and minister as Paul did, go to the different churches with him, but often his ministry was to stay planted where he was and to pray for the people. Pray fervently for the ministry as it was going out, and he prayed fervently. He battled in prayer. It means that he was consistent and zealous in his prayers for the church and for the people that were being drawn to this gospel message that Paul was sharing as he went from town to town, delivering the gospel message as he was led. So I want to share with you these verses, Colossians 4:12 and 13. It says, Epaphras greets you. He is one of you, a servant of Christ, always laboring fervently for you in prayers, that you may stand mature and complete in the entire will of God. I bear witness of him that he has great zeal for you, and those who are in Laodicea, and those who are in Hierapolis. So Epaphras was burdened for a few different places. The church of Colossae, he was burdened for, as it says, Laodicea and Hierapolis. And what Paul is saying, like, I've seen him. I've seen how Epaphras is praying for you, and it is a zealous prayer. It is a zeal that he has. He has this passion to pray for you. As I was reading this, I was kind of stopped in my tracks because there were two women in my life that immediately came to mind that I was like, whoa, I have there is an Epaphras in my life, two of them that I know of. There's maybe more people like this, but there's two women that I know who are specifically burdened for me, who pray for me, Barb and Liz. These two women, Barb and Liz, and if you're listening, Barb and Liz, you are my Epaphrases in my life, and I'm so grateful for you. These women consistently pray for me. They have a zeal in prayer for me and the work that God is doing, the ministry that God has put before me. And I know that so much of why I'm able to do what I'm able to do in ministry is because of the fervent prayer of these women. They battle for me in prayer. They check in with me. They consistently say, I'm praying for you today. I'm praying for you today. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your family, and listing out, naming my family, naming my kids, praying for my dad. There's so many times when even just this checking into writing down dates of things that are going on in my life when I started seminary, and just following up with me throughout the last multiple years of my life. Liz has been consistently doing this in my life. I believe it was that I know of, maybe even before this, but when my brother passed away in November of 19, she's been consistently praying for me since then. And like I said, maybe even before that, but that was like when it became, I became aware of it. And then my friend Barb when my book was released in 2018, she started praying fervently for me then. She came to my door and knocked on my door. She was my neighbor in St. Louis, and she has been faithfully praying for me, fervently praying for me since then. These two women are Epaphrases. They are prayer warriors. And it convicted my heart a bit to say, like, you have Epaphrases, but whose Epaphras are you? Whose Epaphras are you? Who are you praying for fervently that you can say, like, I consistently, God has given me a zeal to pray for these people. And I have that zeal for some people that are my family, my children, for example, my husband, for example. But outside of our family, there has been seasons and times when I've prayed for people consistently for a period of time, people who are going through a really hard time, praying for them over and over and over and over and over again. But there are also a couple of people that have been in my life consistently that I haven't necessarily taken on that burden of praying for them as maybe I should have or could have. But that is changing. God has stirred in my heart this desire to be an Epaphras for some individuals. And I'm not saying that we're going to be an Epaphras for all the people in our lives, because I don't believe that's what God calls us to. You can even see in this text that Paul is saying that Epaphras had zeal to pray for a few specific communities. It was Colossae, Laodicea, and Hierapolis. Those are the communities that Epaphras felt burdened to pray for. So who are you burdened for? Who are those people that consistently come back to your mind? And maybe it is a people group. Maybe it is a country. Maybe it is a church or a community, a group, a ministry that just consistently comes to your mind. Maybe God is speaking to your heart to say it's time to get more fervent in prayer for this group of people, that he's bringing them to your mind for a reason and a purpose. And let's get fired up and recognize that the reason that Epaphras was praying for these churches, for these communities, was that the church would stand mature, filled, and complete in God's will. That's the outcome. That's what we're going for. And I believe that these two women who have been consistently praying for me for years of my life, like, that is what the outcome is. That I am standing mature in faith, and I'm filled and complete to do the will that God has called me to do, to stand and love people, to love God, love people, and speak the Great Commission, to fulfill the Great Commission, to help people find Jesus, to close the gap of faith for people, to speak God's word. Those are the things that we're all called to. That is God's will for our lives, to love God, to serve him, to love people, and to carry out the Great Commission, to share his good news of the gospel to those around us. They were consistent in prayer. Epaphras was consistent in prayer with these churches. That is what we are maybe being called to as well. I believe that God is calling me to be an Epaphras for a few different people in my life as well. And so I'm just asking this question. Is God asking you to be an Epaphras for somebody? And you maybe will say, like, well, there's nobody who's my Epaphras, so why do I need to be that for somebody else? Let's not go there. Let's not do that. Because the reality is, like, we have no idea who is praying for us, because those prayers are prayed in private so often, and the person who's praying for you may not be telling you, may not be letting you know. And that's why I know there are probably multiple people like these two women that I've already referenced who have been praying for me. I believe that we all need people praying for us. And I believe that if we have a relationship with Jesus, the chances are somebody has been an Epaphras for us in our life. Somebody has been battling for us in our life. And if we have been set free from different strongholds, chances are there is somebody who has been behind the scenes praying for us that we would find freedom from that thing that we've been battling through. So, whose Epaphras is God calling you to be? And maybe you do have an Epaphras in your life that maybe it's time to reach out, and maybe you've never thanked them for how they have prayed consistently for you. Maybe the time is now to do that. So who do you know in your life that may be going through a really rough time? Is there a person that God is consistently drawing your mind and your heart back to, that maybe he's pricking your heart, that you could speak to them or be in prayer for them? And that would be a great time for you to start praying for them on a consistent basis. How can we do that? Let's talk practically about how this might look in our lives. Practically, if you want that person in your mind and your heart on a consistent basis, it's as easy as putting their name on a postcard and putting that postcard in various different places, or putting their name on a post-it note and putting it on the mirror in your bathroom, or places where you will see it. Having a prayer journal that you consistently go back to, where their name is on that list, and you're rehearsing these prayers day after day after day. I am not a person who can just rely on my memory. If I don't write it down, chances are it doesn't happen. So I write myself notes. I write myself just reminders. I put things on my calendar as well. So if you have an alert, like put yourself an alert on a daily basis to pray for this person. Just a reminder. And don't feel bad about those things. Don't be down about that if you have to have reminders for yourself. It's like, be grateful actually that we have reminders, because that means that we get to consistently pray for people who need it. We all need it. There may be people who need healing. There may be people who are in ministry who could really use your prayer support. People who have a dream that they're trying to accomplish, and God has just put this burden on their heart to carry out this dream, and your prayers could be so helpful to them. So let's not lose sight of that. All right. Be blessed, be well. Lord bless you and keep you today. May his face to shine upon you. And as you go about your day, be blessed. Bye-bye.